Dion Dublin is among the guests on A Question of Sport Extreme at 10 to 6. But now on BBC One, Mark Chapman's ready with Final Score.
Relegation. He was one of the heroes of the afternoon. Applause from the away supporters. The latest score is Wigan go through to the John Terry's tears we all know. Through fruitful week.
Hello, welcome to Final Score. You won't miss a thing with us over the next hour or so. All the goals as they go in here on BBC One, with all the post-match reaction after 5 o'clock. And the more that happens around the grounds, the less we will hear from Steve Clarke and Robbie Savage. You can judge for yourself whether that's a good thing or not. All right, let's give you all the latest scores in the Barclays Premier League this afternoon. It's goalless at Stamford Bridge between Chelsea and Stoke. Lampard and Terry left out for the home side. Southampton have turned things round at St Mary's. They were a goal down to Aston Villa. Darren Bent getting the opener, but they're on course for their first points of the season thanks to goals from Ricky Lambert, Nathaniel Klein and Jason Puncheon. Earlier on it finished Swansea City 0, Everton 3. We'll give you the details of that shortly. West Brom are a goal up on Reading through Romelu Lukaku. He's just scored for the home side. Sunderland lead West Ham through Stephen Fletcher's fourth goal in his first 3 games for the club. That could be enough for their first win in 12 matches. And Hugo Rodallega on his return to the DW and Damien Duff have put Fulham in control at Wigan. Wigan 0, Fulham 2. All right, then, let's find out about Southampton's comeback at St Mary's, first of all. A very good second half for them, Hamish Marshall.
Yeah, what a turnaround here it's been. Southampton trailed at the break despite being the better side. Darren Bent punishing some static defending after Stephen Ireland scuffed his shot. But in 17 minutes in the second half, there's been 3 goals and it could have transformed their season. A good turn and finish, firstly from Ricky Lambert, levelled things up. Then a neat finish from fullback Nathan Klein, who's been given more of a roving role in this second half. And then a finish from a tight angle, powerful finish from Jason Puncheon has Saints on course to get off the mark this season. And Nigel Adkins is smiling instead. It's Paul Lambert who's having some head scratching to do. Southampton lead 3-1.
Plymouth haven't won in 8 away league games, but they've got one back at Morecambe. So it's Morecambe 2, Plymouth 1. Ross Jenkins with that goal. And Matej Vydra, that is his 4th of the season. And Watford are back in front against Bristol City, 2-1 to Gianfranco Zola's men. We'll go back to all our Premier League games in a second. But Andy May at Selhurst Park, you've got a penalty.
Glenn Murray is on his 2nd goal. He might claim he's on his 3rd as well for a hat-trick after playing a part in 2 of the goals for Crystal Palace. They came from 2 goals behind. The score is 2-2 at the moment. Murray hoping to score their 3rd to make it 3-2 against Cardiff. Palace have played really well, and it was 2 goals in 2 minutes for Cardiff. And Murray scores. Crystal Palace lead 3-2. The comeback is complete.
What a comeback for Crystal Palace. 2-0 down to Cardiff. A hat-trick for Glenn Murray, 5 for the season for him. And Dougie Freeman's side a 3-2 up at Selhurst Park. To Upton Park next. Sunderland a goal up on West Ham, but the home side have just hit the bar. Mark Webber.
Yeah, West Ham United 0, Sunderland 1 until today. Sunderland were better at drawing than Rolf Harris, but a quality goal by Stephen Fletcher early in this game and some superb saves later on by Mignolet look like pouring the Black Cats into a rare win. The stats will show that West Ham have been peppering the penalty box but have failed to finish. As I said, Mignolet can claim some credit for that, especially his wonderful stretched left arm which stopped Kevin Nolan's sitter from going in late in the first half. But Sunderland have also been alert defensively, and you have to say there's been a bit of lack of communication between the West Ham front men as well. All that adds up to West Ham United 0, Sunderland 1.
Jason Puncheon has lost that goal he scored for Southampton. He's now been given as a Kieran Clarke own goal, but obviously the scoreline stays the same. Southampton 3, Aston Villa 1. To Stamford Bridge next. Chelsea against Stoke. It hasn't been one-way traffic in this game, has it, Steve Lee?
No, it hasn't. It's Chelsea 0, Stoke 0, with John Terry and Frank Lampard rested and sunning themselves on the bench. Leaders Chelsea have been frustrated by a typically dogged Stoke side. In the first half, Stoke even had the best chance. Walters rattling the crossbar from Whelan's free kick. In the second, though, Chelsea have upped the pace, and the Brazilian midfielder Oscar has been increasingly influential. Twice he's been denied by the excellence of Asmir Begovic, and then a lovely turn, not quite as good as the one against Juventus, saw his shot just go wide. Stoke have just hit a shot past from Etherington past the post. It remains 0-0 and very evenly poised, 0-0.
Tell you what, West Ham have just gone close as well, haven't they, Robbie?
Yeah, they have a fantastic in-swinging ball from Jarvis. Benioun just couldn't quite get in. I've got to say, chappers, today, Stoke have been terrific. For me, they've been the better team.
And in answer to your question, I have no idea who decided it was a Kieran Clarke own goal as opposed to Jason Puncheon. Not whoever's pressing the buttons.
Yeah, it's a little bit harsh, actually, at the time, but yeah.
Leon Clarke now has 4 for the season for Scunthorpe, and they lead Colchester by a goal to 0. Scunthorpe 1, Colchester 0. To Ivan Gaskell next at the Hawthorns, where that man on loan from Chelsea has done the business for the home side again.
Yes, he had a shade of good fortune about it. Inside, or just approaching the last 10 minutes, West Brom on the verge of winning for the first time, their first 3 consecutive home league games in the top flight for the first time since 1954, would you believe? 2 years short of a diamond jubilee. They're on the verge of it thanks to a low Romelu Lukaku goal that you said was centre of goal through 2 sets of legs. It was a shade fortunate under McCarthy. He might have done better. He didn't. They all count, and that the difference in an otherwise pretty uninspiring affair. 1-0.
So, well, they'll be having a party in Dumbarton this evening. They lost 5 out of 5 this season in Scottish Division 1, but they look like they're going to beat Hamilton. Brian Prunty's second of the season. Dumbarton 3, Hamilton 1. Tony Lockwood, you've had an eventful day at the Den. Goals, red cards, and now?
And now a Millwall goal just to set us up with a frantic finale. It came from a one-time Albion loanee on his full Millwall debut. Chris Wood, angled strike, left foot, close range, brings it back to 2-1 and gives Millwall just a glimmer of hope. It's also a very rare goal for Albion to concede. If they were to win, top spot and a 5th straight victory for Albion. They'd lead 2-1, but it's game on.
Southend hadn't scored in their last 3 games against Exeter, but they've broken that little run this afternoon at Roots Hall. Barry Core has equalised. Southend 1, Exeter 1. One Premier League game we haven't been to in the 3 o'clock so far for you. DW Stadium. Richard Askham watching Fulham cruising at the moment against Wigan.
Yes, they are, Mark. Just when Wigan looked as though they were getting back into it as well, Fulham took complete control with that second goal from Damien Duff. A lovely finish from the Irishman, smacking in right-footed after good persistence from Brian Ruiz. Before that, Wigan could easily have levelled. Mara Baselli and Ruda Kone with gilt-edged chances. And to make matters worse for the home crowd, it was former Wigan hero Ugo Rodallega. You could have called it before the game, couldn't you? Who had given Fulham a first-half lead. Dimitar Berbatov, goal scorer last weekend, was a provider. His floated cross headed in by the Colombian, and it's rather... Those 2 goals have really rather taken the sting out of Wigan. They brought on a couple of substitutes, Callum McManaman and Rio Miyachi, but a little bit flat here now at the DW.
Thank you very much. I think, just looking at the screen, has Frank Lampard come on for Chelsea?
Frank Lampard just come on, yeah. Big decision to leave him out today, so, you know, he's gone into the team now.
And Victor Moses as well. I think we've just seen Victor Moses come
They've looked very narrow, Chelsea, I've got to say. I mean, it's not been a lot of shape or pattern to the game. They look very, very narrow. A lot of the players
credit to Stoke though this afternoon.
Yeah, a lot of players have been centralised.
Stoke haven't just sat back.
Well, they've looked the team actually when they've got the ball who look more likely to do something with it. So, as you say, there's a little bit of a sea change happening at Stoke, isn't there?
Torres has been ineffective again.
What were you getting yourself excited
Southampton again could have got scored 4. You know, he was
what's changed then? Because Aston Villa were a goal up at St Mary's at half-time. What's changed the fact that that Southampton have turned this round?
Well, it was against run of play. I think Southampton made a change. They swapped the full-backs. I think they took Danny Fox off, put Nathaniel Klein. He scored the goal. Lambert's been a threat, and Villa have been all over the place defensively. I think it's Southampton have played well today. Villa were fortunate to go ahead. But again, we just see it now on the screen. He was clean through. He's trying to cut it back. It could have been 4. Lallana.
More of a blip than anything else last week's win against Swansea, because on this is back to the bad old days.
Been on 6-6 last week, but all the Villa fans for him saying, oh, yeah, you're going to change your opinion. I still think Villa, even though the fantastic manager, they are going to struggle.
2 this afternoon for Marvin Morgan, 4 for the season. Shrewsbury 2-1 up on, where were they? I forgot where they were. Where was Shrewsbury? It's dropped off the Hartlepool. Thank you very much. Do you know what? I love having you next to me. Thank you. Doncaster now level with Stevenage. Chris Brown with the goal. That's 4 for the season. 3 in the league for Chris Brown. Doncaster 1, Stevenage 1, and Plymouth have equalised at Morecambe. Morecambe 2, Plymouth 2. That's Warren Feeney's second of the season. He's got it from the penalty spot. Let's get more details on the early Premier League game at the Liberty Stadium. Swansea were at home to Everton. Here's Steve Wilson. If Hibs beat Inverness, they're going top of the SPL this evening. They were 2-0 up. They've been pulled back by Terry Butcher's men. It's Hibs 2, Inverness 2. Richie Foran with the goal 9 minutes from time. And have those substitutions worked for Chelsea at Stamford Bridge? Steve Lee.
Well, I don't know about that. It's now Chelsea 1, Stoke 0, and an old favourite of Stamford Bridge, Ashley Cole, has nipped in for a chip over the keeper after the ball was played into the box. Chelsea really unexpectedly ahead. They've been thwarted the whole game by a very disciplined Stoke defence, and in many ways Stoke looked the more likely to get a goal, but a little backhill from Mata. I can just see in a replay now, and there was Ashley Cole and Begovic, who's been excellent in the second half. 2 saves from Oscar, and you can see by the relief on Ashley Cole's face how important that goal was. Chelsea 1, Stoke 0. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Albion are going for their 3rd straight win in Scottish Division 2. They lose Stenhouse-Muir 4-3. Robbie Savage, that was a great finish by Ashley Cole. Lovely little dink.
Yeah, he got the ball on the edge of the box. He played out wide. It was played in. Matt had done a little back here. I'm not sure he meant to put it into the path of Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole found himself in the middle of the goal. Keeper rushed out. He just flicked it over. A fantastic finish from Cole.
They got the ball wide.
Yeah.
Ivanovic has played it in, Matt has gone over, a little flick, and Ashley Cole is 6 yards out. He's found himself there, middle of the goal, and it's a lovely little finish. And that's the first time we've actually seen them get the ball wide and have any sort of real fluency in their game.
Shouldn't be a problem, though, should it, with Hazard and Mata and Moses and Marco Marin?
Well, you say that, but Moses didn't start.
No.
And the players that have started have played more from in to out rather than out to in.
Yeah.
So it's meant that, when they've got the ball, they've had to work the ball wide before they can get faced up. So it's not that there's been a great deal of service gone into the box.
It's the fullbacks, not formation. It's the fullbacks who do get forward. We've seen it at Real Madrid in the week with Arbolo, Marcelo. Chelsea play a similar way with Ivanovic and Cole getting forward. Ivanovic has crossed the ball and Cole's got the goal.
The thing with that is Stoke don't go anywhere, so they don't allow the fullbacks to push in. That's what's...
1 win in 12 for St Johnstone, but they've taken the lead at Ross County through Fraser Wright. That's Linnell John Lewis's second of the season. Bottom of the table, Bury in League One have pulled one back against the MK Dons. Bury 1, MK Dons 3, and there's been another goal at Vicarage Road for Mark Bishop.
Yes, it's Watford 2, Bristol City 2. Bitterly frustrating afternoon for Gianfranco Zola. Twice he's seen his side take the lead. James Wilson, the Bristol City defender, with an own goal, deflecting Cassetti's cross out on the right-hand side past his keeper Tom Heaton. Marvin Elliott equalising with a good header, and just then Watford in the ascendancy after great work from Yates, setting up Vidra, hammering the ball past Heaton. 2-1 to Watford, but again Watford having got a little sleep a little bit in the Hertfordshire sunshine. Stephen Davis, an effort with the ball bouncing off Amunia back into Davis's pass, and he hammered the ball into the back of the net. Twice Bristol City have hit the post as well. There could still be another goal. 2-2, the latest score from Vicarage Road.
Too little, too late for St Mirren. Paul McGowan has scored for them. They are third, but Kilmarnock will get their first win in 4. They are 3-1 up on St Mirren. And let's find out about that goal for Wolverhampton. It just gets worse for Peterborough. Steve May.
Yes, it certainly does. Wolves have just scored their second through Bjorn Sigurdsson. He rather robbed the defender about 20 yards out and chipped over the keeper. It was a lovely finish. Of course, Wolves were already 1 up before that. The penalty in the first half from Sylvain Ebanks-Blake, his 4th goal of the season, after Ebanks-Blake himself was tripped up by Grant McCann. In fact, Bakary Sakho also had claims for another penalty for Wolves in the first half. But at the moment, Wolves are looking at their 3rd successive victory in the space of 6 days, and Peterborough their 8th successive defeat in all competitions. It's Peterborough 0, Wolves 2.
Let's look at the games that you're watching, Robbie and Steve. West Ham getting closer and closer? No?
Not really. I think Sunderland have done well today. Not really. It's
1 or 2 opportunities started on, but as the game's gone on, I mean, they're difficult to beat under Martin, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sunderland. The one thing, when we played for him, what he made us was tough to beat. And then obviously, when he was able to bring the players in that he wanted, but he always, first and foremost, it was a case of getting organised, high work ethic, and make it difficult for the opposition. They've done that today.
Collins hit the bar in the second half with a header. They've been a threat from set pieces, West Ham, but in open play, not really much
Massive
to talk about.
Again, pumping the ball into the box
it's been a lot of that sort of
not
play,
really creating a great deal. Remember, Chelsea kept Frank Lampard and John Terry on the bench. Lampard came on earlier against Stoke. John Terry has just come on now with Chelsea a goal up against Tony Pulis' men. Let's go back to the Championship, where Andy May has seen an astonishing comeback by Crystal Palace this afternoon.
It's been a really terrific game. 3-2. Palace are dominating still as well. Cardiff hadn't really had a decent chance since the 5th goal in this match. Dougie Freedman's men were 2-0 up at half-time. Aaron Gunnarsson fired in a low shot and Don Cowie volleyed past Julian Speroni. If it stays like this, Mark, it will be only Palace's 2nd win in 13 Championship matches against Cardiff.
Bournemouth are the draw specialists in League One. They've drawn 5 out of 7. They'll have to go some to get a point at Swindon this afternoon. Swindon are 4-0 up thanks to Adam Rooney. Southampton lead Exeter by 2-1. Freddie Eastwood has scored that for Paul Sturrock's men. They were a goal down. And Morecambe were 2-0 up at home to Plymouth. But Warren Feeney has scored 2 penalties this afternoon, which means he's now got 3 for the season. Morecambe 2, Plymouth 3. And what a performance by the League One leaders at Crawley. Andy Barber.
Yes, the first competitive fixture between these two clubs. The League One leaders can't stop scoring. Tranmere 5-2 ahead here at Crawley. It's been a fantastic game, yet the home side were in control of this for much of the first half. 2-1 ahead. Their second from Carl McFadzean was brilliantly taken, but Tranmere leveled it up just before the break. Jake Cassidy scoring. Then John Louis Akpro got a slice of good fortune early in the second half. On-loan striker Cassidy took advantage of a bad defensive mistake to make it 4, and it really is game over now. Andy Robinson, with his 7th goal of the season, has made it Crawley 2, Tranmere 5.
Hartlepool have equalised against Shrewsbury through Andy Monkhouse right on 90th minute, and that is their 5,000th goal in league football. Hartlepool 2, Shrewsbury 2. Back to the Championship. James Mason at Ellen Road. Two sides who would, well, probably have playoff ambitions, would you say?
I'd say so. Definitely Nottingham Forest coming into this game, but they're trailing 2-1. Leeds were cruising at half-time, chappers. They're now hanging on. 2 goals up from Becchio and Polian, but a double substitution from Forest manager Sean O'Driscoll changed the dynamics of the game, and Dexter Blackstock's header has really put the cat amongst the pigeons here. Leeds do have a habit of letting teams back into games, and it's happening again with only Paddy Kenny, the goalkeeper, keeping them in it as Leeds try and get a third. It's all go. Leeds United still lead though in the last few minutes by 2-1.
Robbie's just said to me, what's happened here? Is something going on at Stamford?
He's booked Louise. I don't know what's happened. They're all going around the referee. John Terry's getting involved.
John Terry and John Waters was a little bit of a fracas, and Terry's got just pulled away from it. So,
well, let's find out from Steve Lee exactly what's going on. Steve.
Yes, Louise was booked for a very late tackle. Referee Michael Oliver gave him a talk. It was Waters going through, and Louise came in, stud was raised, and Waters went right over his body. He was booked, but then there was a little bit of afters involving several players. That was a nasty tackle by Louise, and rightly got booked. There was a little bit of afters, and they surrounded the referee, but nobody else was put in the book. And Chelsea, with a little bit of help from old friends like Ashley Cole, are heading for a late victory here. They got the goal through Cole with just 5 minutes left to end the Stoke resistance. It's 1-0 to Chelsea. We're in extra time.
Get the thoughts of Robbie and Steve on that in a moment. Didn't look a great tackle from David Luiz on John Walters, but we're going to go to the DW Stadium where all is not lost for the home side. Richard Askham.
Yes, perhaps not, chappers. Aruna Kone with a goal for Wigan after Fulham failed to clear the danger. Callum McManaman with a rather weak shot that I think the Fulham defence should have cleared. Kone collected the ball, turned and shot straight past Mark Schwarzer, and it's game on.
4 for Podrick Almond, and Accrington Stanley lead Aldershot by a goal to 0. Charlie Austin has scored again. Burnley are 2-1 up on Derby there. We will get the... what are you pointing at?
I'll tell you what, I think now there's been a penalty. There's going to be a penalty. There's going to be a penalty at St Mary's.
Right, we've had a few calls. I'll be honest.
Definite penalty.
If you haven't been watching us on the BBC HD channel, we have had a few calls from Robbie that there were penalties.
He had to get one right,
and eventually he's got one right. But we won't go to the penalty just yet. We're going to go to Upton Park. Mark Webber. West Ham, are they back on level terms?
They've huffed and they've puffed, and Kevin Nolan's found the key to break him in. A very scrappy goal indeed. It's not going to win an award, but he managed to knock it in after a bit of a goalmouth scramble, turned and shot deep into the corner of the goal. Mignolet couldn't get to that one, and now it's 1-1 in injury time.
Tell you what, it may have been a bit ugly, but the finish was good. Let's go to Hamish Marshall, find out if that penalty that Robbie was shouting about went in.
Yeah, it was converted by Ricky Lambert, so Southampton lead Aston Villa 4-1 deep in stoppage time. It came after substitute Emmanuel Mayuka was upended by Brad Guzan in the area. Lambert made no mistake. Saints on their way to the first win of the season. They lead 4-1.
Okay. The final whistles are going around the country, and the first one has gone at the Hawthorns. Ivan Gaskell, more misery for Reading.
Yes, West Brom have now won their first 3 top-flight home league games for the first time in nearly 60 years, though it was hardly a diamond-encrusted performance. They made rather hard work of it, really, against a Reading side who offered precious little. Romelu Lukaku's second-half winner had a shade of good fortune about it, passing as it did through 2 sets of legs before rather bamboozling Alex McCarthy. They all count, though. Morrison had twice stretched the Reading keeper. Olsen struck a post, so the outcome, therefore, probably about right.
Reading still searching for their first win of the season. No such problems for Nigel Adkins and Southampton this afternoon. What a win for them, Hamish Marshall.
Yeah, they've beaten Aston Villa by 4-1, and Nigel Adkins said Southampton's season was to start this week. Well, after 4 straight defeats, it certainly has. They trailed at the break despite being the better side, but a rejig and an upping of the tempo after the break, mixed with better finishing, has got them that first win of the season, and it's reignited the fears of Aston Villa fans. Ricky Lambert cancelled out Darren Bent's opener. A first goal of the season from fullback Nathaniel Klein, who was pushed forward, put them in front. Jason Punchin's shot was deflected off Kieran Clarke to make it 3-1, and then that late Ricky Lambert penalty completed the turnaround. This is the sort of game Southampton need to win if they're to stay up. They've shown belief, they've done just that. There's a standing ovation for Southampton, questions and worries for Aston Villa. It's Southampton 4, Villa 1.
Chelsea 3 points clear at the top of the... To talk to referee Michael Oliver, they're not happy with the decision to give David Luiz a yellow rather than a red, and there's a man who doesn't look very happy, does he, Martin Jol? But his side have just beaten Wigan. Richard Askin.
Yes, they have. Wigan pressed at the end, but Hugo Rodallega given a very good reception from the home crowd when he was substituted late on, showed the Wigan fans just what they've lost and Fulham have gained. The Colombian nodding in a lovely cross from Dimitar Berbatov. Franco Di Santo unavailable due to an ankle injury today, and Wigan really have struggled to score goals, so it was again today. Baselli and Kone failed to convert a couple of glorious chances before Damien Duff sealed victory really for the Londoners with a sharp right foot shot. Wigan did press at the end, and Runa Kone grabbed a consolation late on, but Fulham confirmed their first away victory of the season.
Sunderland are now winless in their last 12 league matches. That's Martin O'Neill's longest run without a victory as a manager in the top flight, and they were robbed late on by West Ham. Mark Webber.
West Ham United won, Sunderland won. They promised much and they delivered eventually. So many times West Ham have relied on captain courageous Kevin Nolan to get them out of jail, and so it was. The ex-Newcastle man would rob the Black Cats of their first win potential since March. Stephen Fletcher's goal for Sunderland was superbly taken for an excellent cross by Sebastian Larsson, and it looked like the great goalkeeping of Simon Mignolet was going to stop any achievement West Ham got from a persistent peppering of the Sunderland goal. But Nolan, missing similar shots in a crowded box earlier, stood his time and took his time in this one. He turned on a narrow angle and shot. Mignolet was beaten this time. It's another draw for Sunderland. West Ham United 1, Sunderland 1.
So, yeah, a slow burning day in the Premier League. Second halves definitely better than first halves, really. Chelsea 3 points clear. West Brom up to third behind Everton. Both Everton and West Brom winning today.
Yeah, West Brom's home form. I think that's the best it's started for years. I think it's 3 wins on the bounce at home, so I think that's fantastic. I've got to say Southampton's performance in the second half was fantastic, and I still worry for Villa. Is that a blip last week, the way they beat Swansea? 4 goals at home, for Southampton.
Liverpool and QPR drop into the relegation zone. Southampton move above them. Obviously, Liverpool and QPR play tomorrow. Reading are bottom, 1 point from their first 4 games. Would you worry for them, even at this early stage? Yeah, I mean, 4 games in. And they've obviously played a game less than most because of that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, they haven't laid out the expenditure, obviously, that Southampton have had. Southampton have spent significantly, where Reading at this stage aren't that sort of club. They're not renowned for going and spending an awful lot of money. So clearly they'll get to a stage where you give the players that have brought you up the opportunity, and if they realise that they're not quite good enough, then you might have to go into the transfer market and start doing a few deals. But at this stage, yeah, they've come up a little bit short, but it's still very early days. The West Ham goal was almost Bolton-esque, wasn't it? Yeah. You know, where first phase, second phase, third phase.
But it was a good finish by Kevin Owens, wasn't it? Despite the
ball went into the box, they got the first phase, they retrieved the ball, they got it back again, they won the next header. So it was a little bit back to the Bolton days, but it was a good goal in the end.
I've got to say as well, Everton's performance at Swansea was terrific. David Moyes keeps producing year after year with limited funds. Terrific.
Let's go into the Championship. Blackburn lost last night, which means we have new leaders this evening. Tony Lockwood saw them win at Millwall. It's Brighton.
5 straight wins for Brighton on an eventful afternoon at the New Den. Ashley Barnes on his 100th league appearance for Albion with a side-foot finish that gave them a first-half advantage. And after the restart, Adam Alabd added a second, hooking the ball home after Millwall had failed to deal with a corner. The home side had substitute Chris Taylor sent off, a second yellow card and a premature departure. Chris Wood on his full Millwall debut pulled a goal back. This, though, their 5th league defeat in 7 games. In contrast, Brighton's winning run continues. They go top of the Championship. Millwall 1, Brighton 2.
All the results to come very shortly on Final Score here on BBC One with the classified results. But first, let's get reaction from Stamford Bridge. Chelsea's goal scorer in their 1-0 win over Stoke was Ashley Cole.
Ashley had to battle hard for that point. How big was the sense of relief at the final whistle?
Yeah, like you said, it was a battle. They were always physical and always make it hard for us to play the football. They kind of defend deep with 10 men, so it's hard to break them down. But so for the goal, it was a great move there on the right, and I just took a chance and got in the box.
You were only 2 yards out, but it took a little bit of finishing, didn't
it? It's probably easier. I think I had a few shots in the first half where I had time on the ball and maybe too much time to think, and it went over. But it comes so quick. I didn't have too much time to think, and that was the first thing that came in my brain to try dink it over because I thought it would go down.
You've had to wait a little while for your first goal for a while, haven't you?
2 years, I think, 2 or 3 years. So it's always nice to score, but so it was about the win today and stay on top of the league.
And it's very early days, but being top of the league, setting the pace, how important is that compared to playing catch-up?
Yeah, I think mentally it's good for us. Last season we didn't have too much of a good time in the Premier League. And I think it was 2 years for us to be top of the league.
You never, ever want too much time to think, as all 3 of us have proved this afternoon. Just a quick reminder that Final Score is on the BBC HD channel from 2:30 every Saturday, as well as the Red Button and the BBC Sport website, so you will be able to see us wherever you are. Let's get the full classified results now with Mike West.
And starting with the Barclays Premier League. Chelsea 1, Stoke City 0. Southampton Town 4, Aston Villa 1. Swansea City 0. Everton 3. West Bromwich Albion 1, Reading 0. West Ham United 1, Sunderland 1. And Wigan Athletic 1, Fulham 2. On to the Empire Championship. The match between Birmingham City and Barnsley is an evening kick-off at 5:20. Crystal Palace 3, Cardiff City 2. Derby County 1, Burnley 2. Ipswich Town 1, Charlton Athletic 2. Leeds United 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Millwall 1, Brighton and Hove Albion 2. Peterborough United 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Bolton Wanderers 2. And Watford 2, Bristol City 2. In the Empire League 1, Brentford 1, Oldham Athletic 0. Bury 1, Milton Keynes Dons 4. Coventry City 1, Carlisle United 2. Crawley Town 2. Tranmere Rovers 5. Crewe Alexandra 1. Leyton Orient 1. Doncaster Rovers 1. Stevenage 1. Hartlepool United 2. Shrewsbury Town 2. Notts County 3. Portsmouth 0. Scunthorpe United 1. Colchester United 0. Swindon Town 4. AFC Bournemouth 0. Walsall 3. Preston North End 1. And Yeovil Town 0. Sheffield United 1. The Empire League 2. Accrington Stanley 1. Aldershot Town 0. Barnet 0. Rotherham United 0. Bristol Rovers 0. Fleetwood Town 0. Morecambe 2. Plymouth Argyle 3. Northampton Town 0. Chesterfield 0. Oxford United 0. Bradford City 2. Port Vale 0. Gillingham 2. Rochdale 2. Dagenham and Redbridge 2. Southend United 2. Exeter City 1. Torquay United 1. Burton Albion 1. Wycombe Wanderers 0. AFC Wimbledon 1. And York City 0. Cheltenham Town 0. In the Blue Square Bet Premier, AFC Telford United 2. Mansfield Town 2. Alfreton Town 1. Kidderminster 1. Braintree Town 0. Stockport County 0. Ebbsfleet United 2. Barrow 4. Hereford United 4. Cambridge United 2. Hyde United 2. Nuneaton Town 2. Macclesfield Town 1. Forest Green Rovers 2. Newport County 2. Southport 1. Tamworth 1. Lincoln City 0. Woking 2. Gateshead 1. And Wrexham 2. Dartford 2. Into Scotland in the Clydesdale Bank Scottish Premier League. Celtic 2. Dundee 0. Dundee United 0. Hearts 3. Hibernian 2. Inverness Caledonian Thistle 2. Kilmarnock 3. St Mirren 1. And Ross County 1. St Johnstone 2. The Iron Brew Scottish Division 1. Dumbarton 3. Hamilton Academical 3. Dunfermline 4. Livingston 0. Falkirk 1. Airdrie United 1. Greenock Morton 1. Wraith Rovers 0. And Partick Thistle 2. Cowdenbeath 1. The Scottish Division 2. Albion Rovers 4. Stenhouse Muir 4. Alloa Athletic 3. Stranraer 0. Arbroath 1. Forfar Athletic 1. Brechin City 0. Queen of the South 3. And East Fife 2. Ayr United 3. The Scottish Division 3. Annan Athletic 2. Peterhead 1. Berwick Rangers 4. Stirling Albion 1. East Stirlingshire 3. Clyde 0. And Elgin City 0. Queen's Park 4. The Corbett Sports Welsh Premier. Bala Town 3. Carmarthen Town 0. Gap Connors Quay 6. Avon Lido 4. Newtown 1. Airbus UK Broughton 7. Prestatyn Town 1. Port Talbot Town 1. And the New Saints 2. Bangor City 0 is a latest score. Finally, the Danske Bank Irish Premiership. Cliftonville 3. Portadown 2. Coleraine 4. Ballymena United 1. Donegal Celtic 0. Ballina Mallard 2. Dungannon Swifts 2. Crusaders 0. Glenavon 2. Linfield 2. And finally Glentoran 3. Lisbon Distillery 0.
Right, let's have a look at the tables then. Unbeaten Chelsea extend their lead at the top to 3 points of the Premier League as a result of that late victory over Stoke. Everton, West Brom and Fulham all won to move ahead of last season's top 3 who play tomorrow. There's a change at the bottom with Reading now propping up the table. Winless QPR and Liverpool have yet to play this weekend as they slip a place as a result of Southampton. Not Southampton Town, Mike got a bit excited during the results. Their first win of the season. Brighton's victory at Millwall sends them top of the Championship above the overnight leaders Blackburn. Cardiff could have gone second, but they actually slipped to 6th after succumbing to a sensational fireback from Crystal Palace. Wolves go 5th after beating Peterborough, and that defeat was the home side's 7th in 7 games, leaving them still 5 points adrift at the bottom of the table. Charlton's win at Portman Road lifts them out of the bottom 3 up to 17th. Ipswich remain bottom but 1. Tranmere's fine start to the season continues as their win at Crawley keeps them top. Notts County's victory over Portsmouth sees them edge into 2nd above Stevenage, who could only draw with Doncaster. And there's no change at the foot of the table, where defeats for Bury, Coventry and Colchester leave them occupying the relegation spots. All 3 clubs still looking for their first win of the season. Gillingham strengthen their grip on top spot after victory at Port Vale, who stay 2nd after Exeter slipped to defeat at Southend. Bradford's win at Oxford sees them go 4th above Fleetwood, who drew with Bristol Rovers. And despite that result, Rovers are still bottom but 1. The bottom 3 all drew today, but they are all still without a victory this season. Newport remain top of the Blue Square Premier, a point clear of Forest Green, who won at Macclesfield. A point for Wrexham is enough to take them 3rd. And there's no change in the bottom 2, with Kidderminster still propping up the rest and Hyde just ahead of them. And Hibs miss out on the chance to go top of the SPL after being held by Inverness. Celtic are up to 3rd after beating Dundee. Leaders Motherwell face Aberdeen tomorrow. Dundee and Inverness finish the day where they started, in the bottom 2. Right, let's get the headlines from the Premier League today. Despite some negative headlines this week, the Adkins diet works wonders again for Southampton as they record their first win of the season. Ricky Lambert scores twice as Villa are overrun in the second half. Ashley Cole's late good for striker Romelu Lukaku settles the first ever top-flight fixture between West Brom and Reading await their first league win back in the Premier League. Stephen Fletcher's 4th goal in his first 3 league games for Sunderland ensures a point at Upton Park for Martin O'Neill's side. And Hugo Rodiega scores on his return to the DW, his first for Fulham, and Damien Duff's second half strike proves decisive. You can see all those games on Match of the Day tonight at 10:20. Harry Redknapp in the studio with Gary and Mark Lawrenson. And then Match of the Day 2 on Sunday has 4 big games to feast on. Freddie Lundberg will be amongst the guests, 10:25 p.m. on BBC One HD for that. That's the Premier League action sorted. Plenty of excitement in the Championship today as well. Let's just show you this goal from Hillsborough, which was an absolute cracker from Mark Davis. He went past 3 admittedly tame challengers and powered a left-foot shot into the roof of the net from the edge of the area. It gave Bolton a 2-1 win at Sheffield Wednesday. All 3 points for Owen Coyle's side. And you'll be able to see all the goals from not only that game but across the Football League with Manish tonight at 11:40 p.m. on BBC One HD. Let's get some reaction from one of this afternoon's games. Chelsea's 1-0 win over Stoke. John Motson doing this game for Match of the Day. And Motty, they left it late, did Chelsea?
Well, absolutely. You can say that again. It was actually 5 minutes from time when Ashley Cole, of all people, popped up with the winning goal because Chelsea had plenty of possession but hadn't really done a great deal with it, I have to say. Stoke, obdurate as ever. If you're saying to me at this early stage, do Chelsea look like prospective champions, I would say no. And I think the main reason for that, Mark, and I'll be very interested to see whether anybody agrees with me on this, the 3 players that they've signed for expensive fees, Hazard, Oscar and Mata, they all want to be a number 10. They all seem to play in and around the penalty area, and there isn't any real width with Chelsea. At least there was with Ivanovic, who came up from right back on countless occasions, and in the end it came from Ashley Cole. So I still think that's a team in progress that Di Matteo has got here. He left Lampard and Terry out today, brought them both on very late. In fact, Lampard was on when Cole scored. Stoke City, well, it's 4 draws and a defeat now, and obviously they're desperate for their first win, but they didn't play at all badly ugly. I must say, I think one or two of their signings will probably prove to be quite resourceful by Tony Pulis, but Chelsea got there by the skin of their teeth, Mark.
Yeah, you've said, Motti, exactly what the boys said in the studio during the game about the lack of width being a problem. And Robbie's just said to me, maybe the onus then comes on the fullbacks. Well, I'll ask Robbie about that in a second. At the end of the match, there looked like there was a real kerfuffle involving David Luiz. And then Tony Pulis seemed to approach the referee at the end of the game.
Well, I'll tell you why Tony Pulis would have approached the referee, because there was an incident on this near side of the field earlier in the second half when Branislav Ivanovic, in my opinion, caught Michael Kiteley full in the face. Now, two things about that. Stoke had a player banned for 3 games this week, Wilkinson, on video evidence that wasn't seen by the referee last weekend against Man City. So Pulis will be doubly disturbed that nobody spotted Ivanovic. That's the first thing. The thing at the end came about because David Luiz launched himself into the most reckless of challenges on the halfway line, and I think the Stoke players probably thought it was worth a red card. In fact, the referee Michael Oliver was doing his best to show him a yellow. So I don't know what they're going to say down in the press conference, but I think there might be 1 or 2 ramifications coming out of both those incidents.
Motti, thank you very much. Enjoy the sunshine in West London this evening. Looks like you are doing already. Thank you. Steve mentioned the lack of width during the game, and then whilst Motti was answering, as I said, you muttered fullback.
Steve was saying about, they want to play number 10s, Mata Hazard, they come in, so the fullbacks in Cole and Ivanovic can get forward. It's difficult because Stoke sits in so much, but the goal, Ivanovic has crossed it, Cole's continued his run, and Cole scored the goal. I was up in Madrid on Tuesday night, and Marcelo and Arbeloa, because they were going forward. When they play the 3, it's important the fullbacks get forward, but against Stoke it's difficult because they sit in.
So there can be positives for a lack of width if you get your fullbacks forward.
Well, you have to work the space for those forwards to get into space. That means that you have to occupy the fullbacks from the other side, meaning that if your 2 wide players play high and wide, then they come inside. That vacates the space. But they didn't do that. Chelsea started. They didn't start wide, they started inside, so there was no one to occupy the fullbacks. So the fullbacks actually stayed where they were. So then Chelsea, when they go forward, their fullbacks have got no area to run into. That was the problem. Everyone started in a central position and made themselves wide, rather than staying wide and making the pitch big and getting in behind Stoke. And that was the problem that Chelsea had. It was all too central.
We will hear from Tony Pulis very shortly here on Final Score. But let's now go to St Mary's. A fantastic win for Southampton, their first back in the Premier League. They came from a goal down to beat Aston Villa 4-1 at St Mary's. Here are the thoughts of Nigel Adkins.
Nigel, you'll be on first on Match of the Day again, as you were last week, but this will be a much happier game to watch.
Yes, it's not nice when you lose, but today we've had a good victory, scored some good goals, the supporters got behind the players, we played some good football. And it's a thoroughly deserved victory.
How significant is it to have the fans right behind you? Because away from the club, people have speculated you can't get away with 4 straight defeats. But here today, the fans never stop chanting your name and being right behind the team.
Well, we're together as one at Southampton. We've come a long way in a short space of time. It's led by the chairman, Nicola Cortese. There's a great vision here at Southampton. Everyone works very, very hard together. As I say, together as one. I've got, it's great credit to the supporters because they got behind the players, but great credit to the players, because they worked very hard through the course of the week again. There's a lot of confidence and a belief about what we're doing. And we've got some superb staff, and the players have gone out today. Let's face it, we've gone 1-0 down in the first half as well, but the character that the players show, there's a belief that we can score goals. We've demonstrated that yet again. And everyone will keep working hard for each other because we are together as well.
What did you say to your players at half-time to cause that turnaround?
Well, the player, what goes on in the dressing room stays in the dressing room. But at the end of the day, we had good opportunities in the first half and we've got to capitalise on them. We gave a poor goal away. The second half, we've capitalised on the chances that we've created and played some really good football.
Ricky Lambert weighs in with another 2. That's 92 goals, I think, now for Southampton. And he's done it at every level for you.
He has, and he's now scored 4 goals in the Barclays Premier League. And he looks a massive threat and he's dangerous. And I thought the way he linked up with Gaston Ramirez today was outstanding. Maya Yoshida comes in at the back and he's had a superb debut again, a home debut for us. So the players are all working hard together and they're enjoying working hard together for each other. As I say, it's been an excellent victory today.
They do score goals to Southampton. I mean, only Fulham and Manchester United and Swansea have scored more, I think, than Southampton this season.
Yeah, and against some, I mean, the two Manchester sides have got 2 goals apiece and took the lead in both those games. I think what he will take out of that game more so than anything is this is a team off the back of some results that didn't go quite according to plan. They go a goal down against a side in Villa who they would expect to beat, particularly being at home. They were playing really, really well, and all they did, they just kept playing the same well. He tinkered with it a little bit at half-time, but they just kept playing in the same vein and thoroughly deserved the win. They were the better side when they were a goal down, and certainly the better side when
and
they were
he said, Robbie, didn't he, before the game, this week he said our season starts with this match against Aston Villa on Saturday.
Well, you're judging by the teams like Villa, like Wigan. The performance at Wigan at home, they were poor. They got beat 2-0. Then they play City, Arsenal and United. You can't really judge yourselves on them games. It's the Wigan games, which they lost. Today against Villa, they've smashed 4 goals past Villa. Gaston Ramirez, his new signing, was fantastic. He pulled the strings. But you've got to worry for Villa still. They've conceded 4 at Southampton.
Yeah, 9 they've conceded in total in their 5 games. And, of course, this time last week we were talking about a feel-good factor around Villa Park after they'd beaten Swansea. Right. How quickly things change in just the space of 7 days. This evening, West Brom are 3rd in the Premier League table after a win at home over Reading by 1-0. Here's their boss, Steve Clarke.
Steve, it's probably been the best start for the club in over 30 years now, and it shows that last weekend was a blip rather than things slowing down.
Well, that's what we set out to do that today. Obviously, circumstances went against us last week. It wasn't our best performance. In fact, it was our worst performance of the season, and we got punished for it. But we knew that we could come here. Started really well at home with 2 good results previous to this. We were confident going to the game, but also very respectful that Reading were coming here they would feel that they were coming here with the opportunity to get their first win of the season.
Chelsea paid £18 million for Lukaku, but you're the guys who are taking full advantage of that now.
Yeah, well, it's a partnership. Chelsea brought him across. They want him to get experience in the Premier League, and we were fortunate enough to be the club that he chose to come to, and we're grateful he did that. And you can see today he's going to be a valuable player for us.
Was it frustrating for you, the sort of before the goal, because you created chances, Olsen hit the woodwork? Do you think it might have been one of those days?
No, I think you just keep plugging away. It was always going to be a tight game. I think maybe midway through the first half you could start to realise that maybe it was going to be a first goal wins it. It was important then not to be caught, not to be too open. We didn't want to get caught in the counter attack. We created enough chances to keep the game interesting, and eventually we stuck one away.
Organised, difficult to beat, as you would expect under Steve Clarke, but as he says, they create enough chances to stick the odd one away.
Yeah, I think it's 6 clean sheets in 7 games. The best home start. 3 wins out of 3 at home. They've got a guy who can score goals. Long was on the bench today. Lukaku starts, scores the winner. Fantastic acquisition on loan from Chelsea. But they're a good, strong, solid team.
Yeah, he started from the back, as you would imagine. Well organised, like you say, makes it difficult for the opposition again. It's one of those, and also had a little bit of flair with Lukaku. Got 1 or 2 odd in Wingy, Long. These are all good players who can score goals, so they've got threat as well.
I mean, they're 3rd and Fulham are 4th. Are they both quite similar in the fact that managers seem to come and go at both clubs, and yet the club still continues smoothly along?
Everton?
No, West Brom and Fulham.
Sorry, West Brom. Yeah, I think Fulham are established. They're both. I mean, certainly Fulham are an established side where I think the art at Fulham certainly is not to do too much too soon, because a lot of managers come in and think, well, if we win games of football, it'll be the previous one that gets the credit and not me. I've got to change it around. That's not the way it works. And also, financially, they're in a position where they can't change it too quickly. So it actually suits. When you've got why try and fix something that isn't broken? And that's the same with both those sides.
I think for Steve Clarke, so far, managers, it must be easy being a manager for him. The 3rd in the Premier League. People question, could he be a man? A fantastic coach, no doubt, Chelsea, Liverpool. But as a manager, he's doing exceptionally well.
Roy left him with a half-decent squad, didn't he, as well?
Yeah.
So he's just kept that ticking over. Great.
And as we said before, Dan Ashworth has always played a big role at West Brom as their technical director. It'd be interesting to see how they replace him now he's gone to the FA. I said Fulham are in 4th. That was after a 2-1 win at Wigan. Here's Martin Jol.
Martin, how pleased are you with those 3 points?
Very pleased. Always nice to have 3 points on the board in an away game. And you know that they are a difficult team to beat nowadays, especially away from home. Of course, we saw them a couple of matches and they had a few good results, especially away against Southampton. So it's a good team, good footballing team. So it was very pleasing to see us taking initiative and played ever so well. First 25, 30 minutes, had quite a few chances and scored. And then we gave it away a bit, midfield, and couldn't keep the ball, and there was a little problem. But second half we took the initiative again, and I think in the end we deserved to win.
Did you feel you always needed that second goal that Damien Duff got you?
No, yeah, in hindsight you could say, of course, we needed that goal because they scored in extra time. But I was a bit disappointed with that. But you can't complain because I think it's a good footballing team and they deserve the goal as well because they did everything. But we scored a goal with Damien Duff in a very good moment, and this is probably our 7th win against them. So we are not an easy team for them to beat. So it was nice, because we are 4th or 5th in the league now, and that is exactly what we wanted.
We don't often see striking partnerships nowadays. It's all about 3 behind 1 or 1 behind 1 or whatever. Can Berbatov, as the striker amongst the three of us, Steve, and Roddie strike up a decent partnership?
Well, certainly on that evidence, I mean, it was Berbatov's cross that Roddie opened the scoring with, and it was a fantastic goal. They're different. I think when you've got 2 players who play up front, you can't afford, it is opposites attract. You can't have 2 players who want to run down the same channel, want to get in the same area in the goal. So you have to have opposites. And in that, you've got that. I think you said one holds the ball up, one's willing to run in behind, one's got pace, one's got the little bit of extra, je ne sais quoi, should we say, about his game. So why not?
Cool. Get him all.
Your French is improved, Clegg. Wow. Look at that.
It's not too late to educate myself, mate, OK?
Quelle surprise. You learn something every day, don't you? Steve Clarke is bilingual.
That was only
whilst we were all, if you could just master English, we would all be laughing. Whilst we were all talking, Tony Pulis has been in the tunnel at Stamford Bridge. He's been looking at the footage of the various incidents in the Stoke-Chelsea game that seemed to make him unhappy as he approached the referee at 90 minutes when the final whistle was blown following Stoke's 1-0 defeat to Chelsea. Now he's looked at the footage, he's reacting to it in the tunnel. Here he is.
Tony, disappointment, frustrated, doesn't even sum it up at the end for you, does it?
No, it's disappointing. I thought we played really well, most probably the best we've played at Chelsea in the 5 years we've been in the Premiership, and created some really, really good opportunities and good chances. Again, our turnover of the ball was poor at times. We've got to be a little bit more careful, but overall disappointed.
In the first half, you had the best chances, and Jonathan Waters was an irritant to Chelsea. He was on the ball all the time, and his header hit the bar, rather.
Yeah, I think John would be the first to say he should have scored there, and it's a different game. If we're winning 1-0, it's a different game. But he's a great lad, and he's been a great signing for the football club.
You'd taken a point from Arsenal, taken a point from Man City. It looked like you were going to take a point here.
Yeah, we played the champions of England last week and did really well, and we've played the champions of Europe this week and given them a good run for their money. So we're disappointed that so late on that we've not been able to to at least score. I think we deserved to score today, and it would have been a different result.
The goal was cruel 5 minutes ago. It was a touch of quality there, a good finish by Cole.
No, they've got fantastic quality in their team. They're a very, very good side with good players, and like I say, look at the bench, and they can bring players on of great quality.
I know the Stoke bench and the dressing room were particularly unhappy with the late challenge by David Luiz on Jonathan Waters.
Yeah, it's a dreadful challenge. I think the boy will be the first one to hold his hand up, having looked at it. And you expect the referee of a Premier League quality and standard to actually deal with it. And it is a very, very bad challenge.
I know you were disappointed too with 2 examples of simulation in the box through Ivanovic and Oscar, who got booked.
Well, I just think we should highlight these situations more, and then referees will understand the people who do it. And simulation is a real bugbear for me, and I think it puts enormous pressure on referees. And when you come to the bigger clubs, when players are falling over, I think you'll see Ivanovic's fall in the first half, and the lad Oscar, who's a great player, doing it as well. It puts enormous pressure on Michael today, and he's done well in 4 or 5 incidents. He's not given penalties, but the players, they should be highlighted, and I think they should be marked. And there's 1 or 2 players who have got a reputation in the Premiership already for falling over when they're not touched, and rightly so. And I think personally, as a country, and as a nation, forget what Europe are doing, we should highlight it more and certainly crack down on it, because it does put enormous pressure on referees.
Interesting stuff from Tony Pulis. As I say, he looked at all the incidents in the tunnel on the screen before he gave his interview, so that was considered.
Yeah, well, Ivanovic's dive in the first half was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. The tackle from Luiz, I believe, was a red card. You know, 2 angles. The first one, not too sure. Second one, definitely for me, should have been sent off. And if that's Stoke, you know, doing that, they get hammered because they're Stoke and because they play this way, because it's a big club. Not much is said.
Shows what a difficult job the referee's got, because we saw it from the initial angle. We both thought he'd slipped. Then we see it from another angle, and Luiz has just absolutely gone through him. And Tony Pulis said the boy will hold his hand up. Well, actually, he already has, because as he looked round, he went to the ref as if to say, sorry, I know that's a bad challenge. He's lucky to be on.
In many ways, it was as if he seemed angry at Tony Pulis with the simulation. We say diving, the professionals say simulation, but that actually seemed to have got him more angry than the David Luiz.
See Tony play?
No, I never saw Tony.
He's all for the tackle, so he could look after himself. So that side of it would be, you know, he'd be totally anti.
If there's a clip or a nudge, and you're going to gain advantage for your team, I can understand now people gain advantage. But on Ivanovic's one, there was nobody near him, and he's flung himself round. That is where it's wrong. But if you're a forward in the box, you get a nudge. You're going to get. I think it's a different type of simulation, and I think what Ivanovic did today was a complete and utter dive.
All right, let me just mark your card on some other action to catch up on the BBC. It's the third round of the Capital One Cup this week. Chelsea will be in action. They'll be taking on Wolves, so you can see all the midweek action on Wednesday night at 11:15 p.m. with Manish. And before that, tomorrow from 9:45 a.m. on the Red Button, a chance to see cycling's men's road race from the World Championships from Limburg in the Netherlands. Great Britain's Mark Cavendish defending his crown there. And then at 3:15 p.m. on BBC Two, you can see highlights of that men's road race and the women's road race. Very quickly, performance of the day, Southampton?
Yes, I think going a goal down could have easily, could have caved in, but they didn't. They kept going, kept playing, and were very good for the entire 90 minutes.
I'll go Everton.
You'll go Everton.
At Swansea, I thought they were terrific.
Whatever you want to talk about, you can have your say on 6:06 tonight. Myself and Robbie will be on. Listen on 5 Live or on the BBC Sport website. That's it from us. Coverage is going to continue in a couple of minutes on the Red Button until 6 p.m. We'll be back on the BBC HD channel next Saturday. Au revoir, as Steve would say.